Assalamu alaikum. So, mashallah, with the blessing of God, we're here to attend another Quran study. This is the blessing of God that He has allowed us to be here. We need to be thankful to God. Inshallah, we will be reading Surah number 7, verse 73. As you always say, seek refuge in God from Satan, the rejected, in the name of God, most gracious, the most merciful. Saleh, verse 73. To Samud we send their brother Saleh. He said, O my people, worship God. You have no other God beside him. Proof has been provided for you from your Lord. Here is God's camel to serve you as sign for you. Let her eat from God's land, and do not touch her with any harm, lest you incur a painful retribution. Recall that He made you inheritors after Ad and established you on earth, building mansions in its valley and carving homes from its mountains. You shall remember God's blessing and do not roam the earth corruptingly. So there are some other places where, in this part of the surah, we see the God is talking, giving us the story of the prophets and messengers one after another, one after another. Another place we see is a surah number Surah Shura, the poets. Pretty much the whole surah is constructed in the stories of messengers one after another, and God is telling us that their messenger went to them and they rejected, and what happened, and then right next to that, God switches to another prophet. There's a very important reason for God to give us this sequence one after another, to show us a flaw in human being, and it is part of us that we think we are very smart people and wicked. The minute we start thinking that we are smart and wicked, we basically committing idol worship, and we think we can make the best decision, and we become arrogant, and we think whatever we think is right, and whatever else is we don't accept it. So these all kind of flaws in us, and that's what God is trying to pinpoint to us, that how we're supposed to be behaving. um, let's see here. Okay, so the first messenger is mentioned is Noah, and then right after that God mentions Hud, and then here God is mentioning Saleh. That is stated here. Recall that He made you inheritors after Ad. So what happened when Noah came and his people were saved, and all those people were in the boat? They were all submitters, and they were established in somewhere. And what happened? Their oncoming generation starts changing the religion, and they start doing idol worship and become corrupted. Out of the pure people, all those Noah people, they were all, I mean, even Noah's son was not saved. So out of all these people, God saved a handful of people. And out of these pure people, they were really, really worshiping God people. And what happened? Then comes out all the idol worshiping people. Then Odds people, when I'm sorry, when after Noah, the Odd people came, and then they were destroyed, and whoever was following Hud, they were the submitters. And out of these people, what happened? Comes out all the mixed people, and they start doing idol worship, and that were the people of Samud. And God sent Saleh to them. And what is the message? Same message, that oh my people, worship God. You have no other God beside Him. Proof has been provided for you. And God sends proof with the messenger, so people will listen to the messenger, that this person, proof will not be something very simple. It will be some kind of solid proof that will identify clearly that this is not a human-made thing. This is clearly coming from outside, and the whole reason is for people to listen to this man. This, whatever he's saying, is the right thing he's saying, and obey him, because he's carrying the right message. That's the only reason for the proof. And what was the uh, proof that God gave him? Was the camel. And God says in another place that we showed Samud the camel, a profound miracle. God calls it a profound miracle. As we read, we think camel is not something. What's the big deal with camel? I mean, these people used to ride camel and on horses. So, but that camel was, as we kind of had an idea, that this was not an ordinary camel. Uh, And I don't know if this is true, that we heard from stories that this camel will eat a lot or something like that, which was bothering these people. And but that was a miracle of God. But that's what caused them to kill the camel. But that was the sign for these people. Had they let the camel do whatever it was doing and listen to the messenger, and they will never run out of food, because this is God's system. God would have blessed them far more than what they even had before, and make them inheritors on earth. But what they did, the greedy inside, and they rejected God's miracle and the messenger. And so what happened? God is saying, let her eat from God's land, and do not touch her with any harm, lest you incur a painful retribution. So that camel was actually a sort of test for them also. But they what they did, they killed the animal. And then God says, recall that He made you inheritors after Ad. So again, these people were after Hud. And when Hud came to his people, and their people annihilated, God saved Hud and the people along with him. And these people, and God blessed them so much, and they became the people of Samud. And God blessed them so much, and established them on earth. God is the one who established them on earth. They were building mansions in its valleys. I mean, mansions, and carving homes from its mountains. I mean, as we can see in some Turkish towns, they have very beautiful carved homes inside in the mountains. Very beautiful picture. And God is reminding them, recall He made you inheritors. Reminding them, look what happened. Who were you originally? You were people of Hud, and God blessed you so much, and He gave you all this stuff, and you should be appreciative and listen to the messenger. And you should remember God's blessing upon you. God says that in many places about the children of Israel, with Moses, that remember my blessings upon you. I mean, why God is telling us that when He was telling those people, remember my blessings upon you? It's not for us to just to be amused about these people's stories. God is telling us too at the same time, us, me, and you, and everybody who's present at this time, that remember God's blessing upon you. I can see for myself where I started my journey in my life and what I have right now. I mean, I should be extremely remembering God's blessing upon me. And this applies to pretty much everybody. God blesses us so much, and do not roam the earth corruptingly. I mean, just the couple of few days ago, I was watching this movie, um, Don't Breathe, and part one, part two. And in that movie, the guy is a Navy SEAL, and he cannot see his eyes. He lost his eyes somehow. And the whole time I was watching the movie, I mean, I kept saying astaghfirullah, because the guy cannot see, and his life was so limited. Like if you scale it with 100%, I mean, he's barely living maybe less than 5%, because you cannot see anything. The way he's just walking around his home and doing things and going to the park, I mean, he cannot see. He has a dog that he follows the dog. I mean, just the eyes is a huge blessing. If God takes our eyes away, just imagine, I mean, what a loss that would be. I mean, there's so much to be remember, blessings of God, so much. It is just beyond our imagination. Just looking at our body, that He has given us a full working body. I mean, these are just, I mean, I'm not even talking about anything else, that the home and other things, just even our body, if you think about it. There are so many blessings, and God is telling us too that remember my blessings, and do not roam the earth corruptingly. All God is teaching us, be appreciative and be a good person on earth, follow God's message. God is not asking us to go do crazy things. God is teaching us the good moral ethic behavior, good character, respect everyone, love each other, and follow God and follow the messenger and follow the Quran, basic things. And I don't know why it is so hard for people to follow the word of God. I mean, it's not something God is teaching us bad stuff. And so this is the whole problem with human being. If there was another book to come in the future, just just speaking in this sense, what, because what God has give us this sequence, it would have said the same thing. Like, for example, Muslims, God would have mentioned something like, to Muslims we send their brother Rashad. I mean, same story. I mean, each prophet you follow, he said, we said some their brother Saleh. Uh, to who we send their brotherhood. Same sequence would be, we send Muhammad to the brother in Mecca. I mean, same thing would have repeated. And what people do, same thing again and again and again. Same. So we don't even learn from our own mistakes. That is the horrible part. I mean, look at the first car that was created by human being with God's leave, and look at today's car. It's completely, they may not even look alike. And what happened? People have learned from their own mistakes to keep improving the car up to this point, and they can keep on improving in the future. We're not going to make the same mistake as 50 years ago when they were making a car and keep making the same mistake. No, we keep improving with our thing. But when it comes to religion, it's the complete opposite. Instead of improving ourselves, we start going downwards. Even with the submitters, you come to submission, you're supposed to improve yourself. You have the miracle of 19. You have God's message. You have the clear-cut message. And then you argue about things that are black and white written in the Quran and explained by the messenger of the covenant. And then what do? We start arguing with each other about something very, very common sense. This is human flaw. Instead of improving, and something that we argue has no basis in it, and simply we are arguing about God's religion. And this is why God is teaching us what weakness is. I mean, just imagine, this is a huge blessing. Imagine you have suffering with a disease and you don't even know what is causing and how you're gonna cure yourself. You try different medicine, you try to diagnose the problem. It takes several trials until you find out what the problem is. And like this vaccine that we made, just imagine if God just give you the formula vaccine and just go ahead and made it and do it without going through all the trials. And here God is teaching us our weakness that we can overcome. Otherwise, had the most gracious does not give us this, our weaknesses, and we just spend our whole life figuring out ourselves. I mean, this is the blessing of God. And instead, what we do, we just think that, oh, we are the smart people, we are the right, we have the best, everything best. And then goes to the next verse, the message, proof of messengership. The message, proof of messengership. The arrogant leaders among his people say to the common people who believed, how do you know that Saleh is sent by his Lord? They say, the message he brought has made us believers. The arrogant ones said, we disbelieve in what he believed in. Subsequently, they slaughtered the camel, rebelled against their Lord's command, and said, O Saleh, bring the doom you threaten us with, if you are really a messenger. Consequently, the quake annihilated them, leaving them dead in their homes. He turned away from them, saying, O my people, I have delivered my Lord's message to you and advise you, but you do not like any advisors. Even if there's a messenger, I mean, you don't even have to look at what miracle did this messenger bring, or what kind of life is looking or something. If the messenger says that worship God alone, you have no God other beside God, follow me, I mean, that message alone will tell you that this person is a messenger and he's speaking truth. Because if this person is not a messenger of God, that's mean that person is in a wrong side. He's probably Satan's follower or something, because that person, if person is saying that worship God alone, that in itself is telling you that this person is, it has to be someone who's speaking right. Because a righteous person who speaks the truth will not lie. Because no, even if he's delivering the right message, that worship God alone, and if he lies that he's a messenger, he knows that even though he's saying the right thing, but lying about the messenger of God will put him in hell. So if he's honest, if he's sincere with God, he will say that worship God alone, but he will not say that I am a messenger of God. Only the true messengers will say that, because they know this is a very, very serious thing. And that's why these people, they understand that this person is saying the worship God alone, and they know that this person doesn't want anything from us. And if he's lying, he is in a big trouble. But we're going to follow him. We will benefit from the message, but he himself is putting in a wrong, very wrong situation, because he doesn't want anything from this world. His hell is waiting for him. It doesn't add up. Only person will lie is the who's on the wrong side, who's not on God's side. But that person will not tell you that worship God alone. He will tell you something else. He may say, I'm a messenger of God, but he will not let you go to heaven. His message will be corrupted. He will guide you to the wrong path. That's the whole idea here, that the people, they recognize that the message of God. And mashallah, many of the submitters that I have met too, that they recognize Rashad as, because he says worship God alone. Every place he called, like so many times, he advocates a worship God alone. I don't want anything from anything, and I'm here just to deliver the message and this and that. So that alone was more than enough for him to be for us to believe that he's a messenger. But on top of that, God gives him a miracle of 19. It's for us to listen to the message. So these people, they're leaders, they're arrogant. One of the things that I notice is that some other places too, that people, they are rich or powerful. Money and power is, as much as brings easy life and makes you more, powerful and wealthy and famous. At the same time, it's very dangerous. More money will bring you, repel you from the right message. More power and money will make you more arrogant. So the poor people, in that sense, are more reverent. They will listen to the message more, not all the time, but it's kind of in a ratio system, that the more you rich you get, the more arrogant you become. And I'm not only saying that. I've seen in the real world, people get more money, they become more arrogant. They think they are someone. They don't even talk to you very, very the way they used to when they become rich. So money is in a way, it's a very powerful thing. It's like fire, or electric. Something that can do things for you, but at the same time, it can be dangerous. So if you earn a lot of money, then you have to be very careful that money, don't let that money cause you to become arrogant and you start thinking that I am someone. So here we see the same thing, the arrogant leaders among them. God is not saying many people among them. So these were the leaders, and they were the one who was the cause of diverting some of the lower ranked people, because these were powerful and rich people, and they followed these people, those other people, that we're going to follow them because they are powerful and rich and they must be doing something wrong. But the people, they were sincere with God. They say that that the message that he brought has made us believe. So very, very critical lessons that God is teaching us here. A lot of pondering needs to be done. Who disbelieve in God's message. Then the arrogant one said, we disbelieve in what you believe. They deny that. After even listening to these people, they're saying we believe in the message. What their response is, and God is keep mentioning with the name arrogant. So the arrogant one says, we disbelieve in what you believe in. Subsequently, they slaughtered the camel. That's what they decided to do. And it was not something that they just, it happened and they say, oh, the quick decision. It took them probably some time to come to this conclusion. It was their final decision. They slaughtered the camel and against their Lord's command. And what is coming out of their mouth? This is what they're saying. Oh, Saleh, bring the doom you threaten us with, if you are really a messenger. Look at the way they're going to prove him. They're going to make him prove, putting their life online, that to this point they denounce. You may not believe a messenger to a certain point, but you still maybe have a little bit of reverence in your heart for that messenger. Maybe this person is right, maybe not, like 50-50, maybe 40 or 60 or 30-70. And you don't want to put yourself in, they're like bring us. We believe you're 0%, you're a messenger, and we don't believe that this camel was camel was, God says, is a profound miracle, not just a regular miracle. And they just completely denied it. To point, they're saying, bring the doom to us. We don't even, you are not a messenger. They completely denied. What 100% decision they had made at that point. I mean, same thing was done with Rashad Khalil. People among the leaders of the Islam, they were calling him liars. I mean, they didn't even thought that at some point that what if he's a messenger? We should not call him a liar. We should not name him or say things like that. Maybe he's a messenger. And what we can, I mean, it's not God's. I mean, right now people are scattered and there are billions of people on earth. So God's not going to bring the annihilation in whole community. So whoever is saying the consequences of their actions. Like one person called him a liar clearly in public, and this person suffered severe coma or something where he was alive, he can see, but he cannot speak. I mean, this is God's retribution. I mean, you have at least a little bit reverence, that to the point that maybe I should ponder, but no, this is how bad the ego gets, and Satan gets on you. Consequently, God gave them a severe quake that annihilated them, leaving them dead in their homes. These people, they carved the homes, and their buildings were obviously with the stones in the mountains, and they're still standing. But the way that God could have sent a quake where the mountain would have been perished, but God, the way he sent the annihilation, that they died in their home. What kind of quake was that? Just imagine that. I mean, normally if you die in your home, it has to be something very severe quake where the buildings will be demolished. But it was God's wisdom that God wanted to let the building standing, and for the lesson for the future generations, so they don't repeat themselves. And what did Saul did? He turned away from them, saying, "Oh, my people, I delivered my Lord's message to you and advise you that, but you do not like any advisors." That was his like almost last statement before he left with his people, and after that, God annihilated. And then the next story, and this is Lot. Homosexuality condemned. Lot said to his people, "Oh, you commit such an abomination. No one in the world has done it before. You practice sex with the men instead of women. Indeed, you are a transgressing people." His people responded by saying, "Evict them from your town. Evict them from your town. They are people who wish to be pure." Consequently, we saved him and his family, but not his wife. She was with the doom. We showered them with certain showers. Note the consequences for the guilty. People were doing the same sex, men to men, which is, the seen as really, 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 really bad thing. I mean, alone adultery as a man and woman without marriages, God calls it as a uh, gross sin. And but when men to men, I mean, this is far, far worse. Not only they were doing that, another place, 29, verse 29, God says that you practice sex with men, you commit highway robbery, and you allow all kind of vice in your society. Okay, so these people were not only doing that, they were doing robberies. Anybody passing by any town or something, they will rob them, and they were doing all kind of vice, any bad behavior. You can imagine, they have no fear of anything. Another place we learn is that when Abraham, the two angels went to these people, to Abraham, and they were going to Lot. So Abraham and Lot were present at the same time, the two prophets, I guess. So here Lot is telling to his people, you commit such an abomination. And abomination is not only mentioned for doing this. God mentions abomination in some other places too. So which means that it's a very, very serious sin. And God, and he's saying that no one has in the world has done it before. So as we learned that this stuff started from Lot's people, and right now it has become pretty much normal. A lot of countries that they even allow to have a same-sex marriage. I mean, this is how the negative system is going this far, that people can get married and all that. So instead of condemning it, and the more we people let it go, the more it's going to become normal. But at the same time, you cannot. This is one thing I think is that complete freedom in religion. Um, it has to be allowed. I guess you cannot ban it. You can teach people not to do it, but you cannot force somebody not to drink or this and that. Then there's no freedom in religion. People don't harm God by doing something wrong, they harm themselves. So if it's completely, the freedom has to be there. People choose whatever they want to choose, is there, but everybody will have to answer at the end of the day. And then I also watched a video that some of the people, they used to do this kind of things, and they were saying that it was not medically they were into this, it was their personal choice to got into this. So that's we learned that it's probably their own personal choice that they start doing something like that. They are not naturally born in this form. That's among those people, they used to do that. It's according to them, that's what they were saying. So these people, what they respond, evict them. Instead of listening to Lot by what he's saying, they threaten him, evict him from a town, and the people who wish to be pure, they are people who wish to be pure. So they have problem with being pure. They want to do vice and all the wrong stuff. And this is what their response is. Just imagine if you go to a town or somewhere where people are doing a lot of crimes, and then you tell them, you guys should stop doing crimes, and guys should become a good people. Same thing they will say. They will attack you. You're telling them something good, but they will attack you because they being doing so many wrong things. They become literally blind. That's what they see and that's what they like, and the evil has gotten to them so much that's what makes them happy. But in fact, inside they are not happy. They're unhappy people. They get angry very easy. It just not, it doesn't bring happiness. Vice never brings you happiness. Doing wrong stuff never brings you happiness. Idol worship never brings you happiness. Only following God will make you truly inside happy. uh, when God said, consequently, we saved his family, but not his wife. Why do you think God mentions the wife here? God mentions Noah's son. God is mentioning his wife, Abraham's father. It's because she was family member. A spouse is one of the closest bond. A mother and child has a different kind of close bond, but a husband and wife spend most of the time together. Even a child, when it's born, and when it grows up, start going to school and move away. They don't spend with their mother as much time, but the husband wife is far stronger bond in that sense. They live together, they sleep together, they do so many things together, and that bond is so close that a wife would reject his husband, who's a prophet of God, who's a messenger of God. I mean, but yet, if you don't accept it, then you're going to be doomed. So I don't know how she rejected his message. That We don't see that, I don't think, in the Quran, but God knows, and he didn't save his wife. We showered them with certain shower, and note the consequence for the guilty. So then Lot left with his family, his daughters and people. They believe in him, and God blessed him after that. But all the other people that they were doing wrong things, they were annihilated. Another thing we learn is when the two messengers came to Lot, they came to Abraham first, and they look like human being, right? And then these people, they rush to Lot, and they probably wanted to, because these two guys came to visit Lot. And just imagine, this is my understanding, I could be wrong, that they probably saw these two young men, and they were doing this kind of wrong stuff, so they warned those people for the wrong reason, maybe because they look like human being. And Lot was such a nice host that he wanted to protect his guest, and he came to this point even to saying to these people, take my daughters if you really wish to do that, because he's trying to protect his guests, because these are my guests. So that shows such a sincerity in his part. But after the messengers tell them that, we are messenger of God, so don't worry about it. And then after that, we see the Shoaib, cheating, dishonesty, condemned. Okay, 1 second. Okay. To Madian we send their brother Shoaib. He said, O my people, worship God. You have no other God beside him. Proof has come to you from your Lord. You shall give full weight and full measures when you trade. Do not cheat the people out of their rights. Do not corrupt the earth after it has been set straight. This is better for you if you are believers. Refrain from blocking every path, seeking to repel those who believe from the path of God, and do not make it crooked. Remember that you used to be few, and He multiplied your number. Recall the consequences for the wicked. Now that some of you have believed in what I was sent with, and some have disbelieved. Wait until God issues His judgment between us. He is the best judge. So again, the story is same cycle is being repeated again and again and again and again. Nothing. It's not like this happened one time and or two times. Same story every time. Every religion, every people. Right now, you look at the earth, all the different religion divided in so many sects and forms, and they're further dividing. People are dividing upon dividing and upon dividing and changing and going further away from God's religion. This is the human flaw. I don't know. We think the human being is a very smart creature. We look at the animals and other creatures, but if this is, I don't know if that's what kind of smartness is that. We don't make that kind of full decisions when we come to dealing with our daily life in running the business or job. We try our best. If we make a mistake, we learn from it and we don't repeat the mistake. But when it comes to religion, we keep on making this mistake. Somebody who makes the mistake twice, and what do you tell them? Are you blind? Didn't you check it the first time? But when religion, that's why God tells us, then He makes them blind, deaf, dumb, and blind, because they're making the same mistake again and again. You're going to call that person blind anyway. It's like they say, that fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me. But we don't learn. We keep doing the mistake again and again. This is the people of Madian, and their brother Shoaib went to them, saying same message: worship God alone. You have no God other beside God, beside Him. Proof has been come to you. So he was sent with the message, the proof: you shall give full weights and full measures when you trade. His people were committing the cheating with their measurements, like when they will go and buy from other towns or something. They want to get the full stuff. Like suppose they buy rice, the exact same weight, but when they sell it, what they do is even I see in Pakistan, I've seen people, what they do, they cheat the weights where 1 kg is not exactly 1 kg, or they will do some kind of thing that it will be maybe 950 grams less than what is supposed to be, and they think they can cheat and get more money out of the same stuff, but they don't realize that they end up losing the money, because whenever you cheat, that money is, that you earn extra money, it's not gonna bring you happiness. In fact, it's gonna be gone with a lot of interest on yourself. You can either lose so much money somewhere, or in a condition of health or something else. That is, you're not going to be able to keep it, and that's what they don't realize. You can search people that they do cheat, and then look at their life. They go through a lot of life problems. Something happens, tragedy upon tragedy. Sometimes I get an accident, sometimes this and that happen. There's one family member that I not my family, but someone I heard that they were cheating with some stuff, and their son got in a very bad car accident. I mean, I don't know where. I mean, there has to be a link. Uh, why this son got in an accident? So there is a cause and effect, as we know, and even in science, there's a cause and effect. So if there's an effect happened, there's a cause was somewhere there. I mean, and also I've seen people there, they're idol worshippers, but they're such an honest people, and they at least live this life happily. God gave them whatever they're happy. I mean, whatever they have, but in the hereafter they have nothing. And the one point that I learned from this is that if you want to come to God's religion, at least purify yourself. Stop doing these. This is just basic humanity. Stop stealing. Stop cheating with money. Stop treating people badly. Your spouse, your family. I mean, do the right thing. Be honest. Don't lie. Don't hurt other people's. I mean, these are basic humanity. At least you don't need religion for that. At least start from here. I mean, if you are a cheater, you hurt people, you lie, you do all kind of bad things, and but you want to worship God alone. You come to submission class and you say, I want to worship, I want to follow Rashad Khalifa, I want to this and that. It doesn't match up. Or you're doing wrong things, then it's not going to happen. So you have to start with yourself. That way you stop cheating, lying, and all that stuff, and or at least if God gives you the message, stop right there, all the negative things. Otherwise, if you keep cheating, I mean, you cannot stay in submission for too long. You will be, this is actually being an employee of God. I mean, you're a servant of God. If you keep doing wrong things, I mean, it's like when you work, you get write up. If you do a mistake, you get second write up, you get third write up, and then you're fired after that. Same thing happened in God's kingdom. If you do major mistakes, God will forgive you until I don't know how many times or how our system works, but you don't want to put yourself even on the red zone. After that, God fires you. You're not fit to be in a submission. I mean, you may think that you are a submitter, and you may think that I'm worshiping God alone, and God will adorn that path in your life. But so being a good person is a very, very critical element in God's system, because God does not like vice. You shall give full weights. Do not cheat people out of their rights. Do not corrupt the earth after it has been set straight. So these people are not only doing cheating, they're corrupting and corruption and all that stuff, any kind of negative behavior, money laundering and all that stuff that we see, a lot of corruption in a lot of countries that we see, which causes a lot of damage, I mean, to the people. Cheating the rights of so many poor peoples. Many people have lost their land, and this was their living source. These are poor people, and these rich people will come in and they take over their land and power and this and that. They have no idea how much horrible things that they're doing to themselves. Refrain from blocking every path seeking, and not only that, they're blocking people from the path of God, so the other people will not follow God. I mean, these are some serious crimes that they were making, and make it crooked. I mean, to be honest with you, all these things, I see that the country that I grew up. I mean, cheating, lying, corruption, path, molding the path in the wrong direction, stopping people from the right path, and killing people. Everything that you see here, it's I mean, it's not even hidden. I mean, you can clearly see that. I mean, like, we grew up saw all this stuff. Remember that you used to be few, and he multiplied your number. So these people, probably a descendant of another prophet, they're pure people, and God blessed them. But what happened in their descendants, and they become this, we call the consequences of the wicked people. I mean, God is reminding them from the previous generation what happened to them, and they were wicked people. They could be the law after Lot, maybe, in that sense, maybe. No, but it's not important. And the important thing is that the same sequences is repeating one next to each other. Now that some of you have believed in what I was sent with, and some have disbelieved, wait until God issues his judgment between us. He is the best judge. Even at that time, some people were believed Shoaib, and some disbelieved. And he's threatening them with the final word. Wait until God issues his judgment. Even at that time, some people become reverence, and they would have fallen prostrate and say, "We believe in your Lord Shoaib. We were guilty. God would have been kind to these people," but they were so arrogant. They didn't even care, and the judgment came to them. The arrogant leaders among his people said, "We will evict you, O Shoaib, together with those who believed with you from our town, unless you revert to our religion." He said, "Are you going to force us? We would be blaspheming against God if we revert to your religion after God has saved us from it. How could we revert back to it against the will of God? Our Lord Our Lord's knowledge encompasses all things. We have put our trust in God. Our Lord grant us a decisive victory over our people. We are the best, and you are the best supporter." So that's what they responded after when Shoaib told this, that we will evict you. I mean, this is how arrogant they were, and together with those who believed with him, unless they revert back to their religion. I mean, of course, a messenger of God would never do that, and that's a fact in that sense. God chooses his servants very. He knows that who's the best one to deliver the message, and then he says, "Are you going to force us? Even though you cannot force us." Uh, Blasphemy against, I mean, all this stuff is same thing is repeated over and over. And there he's praying to God that save us from them, and where Lord's knowledge encompasses all things. And they say, "We put trust in God our Lord," and he's praying, "Grant us decisive victory over these people." I just want to finish this Shoaib story, inshallah. I'll finish here. The disbelieving leaders among his people said, "If you follow Shoaib, you will be losers." The quake annihilated them, leaving them dead in their homes. Those who rejected Shoaib vanished as if they never existed. Those who rejected Shoaib were the losers. He turned away from them, saying, "O my people, I have delivered to you the message of my Lord, and I have advised you. How can I grieve over disbelieving people?" So these people, Shoaib's people, they are calling, who follow Shoaib, "You will be losers." So the disbelieving people are calling Shoaib and his people, "You will be losers." What happens? The result, when God's commandment comes, judgment comes, quake annihilates them in their home, and those who rejected Shoaib vanished. That they never existed. The way that quake annihilated them was that it was. I mean, I don't know how to explain that. The people's bodies and bones, nothing was inexistent. Like there was nobody there. I mean, imagine what kind of earthquake was that. uh, and then God is saying, those who rejected Shoaib, though they were the losers. They call Shoaib people losers, but God is calling them loser. And that's the loss. And he turned away from them, saying, "Oh my people, I disbelieve. I delivered my God's message of my Lord, and I have advised you." That's the last thing the messenger says to his people. And he says, "How can I grieve over disbelieving people?" I mean, how we should be the same way. If someone is been a disbeliever and does not believe, how can you grieve on that person? I mean, you should not supposed to grieve on someone who disobey God and does idol worship. So inshallah, stop here, and if you have any comments and questions, we can continue on that. Thank you.
MashaAllah. Thanks, brother.
MashaAllah, praise God.
Sure, thank you.
Mashallah, I wanted to just emphasize some this about the this verse. Mashallah, brother explained so well by God's grace about this about verse 73, that it says that uh, such a beautiful God has given us the understanding and taught us in this verse how we can recognize the true messenger when God sends messengers to human race. Because here among the humans there are so many other messengers who represent Satan. So that's the people, it makes the people confused. Especially God sends the messenger the time when especially the message has been corrupted beyond its recognition. So, so when the true messenger comes, how we can really recognize that he is truly sent by God? So that here God is teaching us that the message, like his people, Salih people said, that the message he brought us made us believer. So the message itself explains that is this message which person is giving me is from God, or is it from something else? Because the true messenger will only will give the message to worship God alone. This is what from the beginning, from Adam. This is the main uh, uh, message God is sending through his different times and different messengers to worship God alone, to worship him alone, because that is the main purpose of our race. We are here only to prove that in any and all the circumstances, we only worship God alone, mean we only follow God's commandments. Whatever he has given us, we will only follow those. If the situation come, for example, there is that if we want to lie, if we want to, or we can tell the truth if we want to. So now one is from Satan and one is from God that don't lie, always tell the truth. So there, if we choose to tell the truth, keeping in our mind that this is my Lord's commandment, so I have to obey him. So at that time, we are worshiping him alone because we are obeying him alone. So that is the main, such a beautiful, because this happened with me and my husband, that in the beginning when we, by God's grace, after this message, one of our family member, he was very upset and he asked us, why, what you think, why you believe that Rashad Khalifa is the messenger of God? And we both just smiled and we said the message he brought us made us believer. So that is such a beautiful answer God has taught us in his this scripture, to tell any arrogant one who just asks you why you are following this message and why you are reading this translation and why you think he was the messenger of God, this and that, all uh, questions, or from the from beginning of from the disbelievers questions, they always ask the same questions and believers always gives the same answers by God's grace. This is the system. So this is just I wanted to, mashallah, share. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the message which gets to your heart. You feel like God is, directly speaking with you when you read the Quran. Me also, I did not know about the miracle or anything. First thing was that when I read that translation, first thing was very clear to me that this is from God. And then all the things became clear in the light of everything how, mashallah, the messenger has, like, explained, and the footnotes and subtitles and appendices and all that. It just, when you see that in the light of what's written in the Quran, and then how could you say no to this messenger or reject the messenger when you never had anything like that before uh, in your lifetime? So, mashallah. Another thing you see in these previous verses, and starting from Noah and all that, that how the pattern is absolutely the same, different times, different messengers, same kind of arguments against the truth, same kinds of rejections, threats, making fun. It's humans, whether they belong to this time or that time, most technological time, or absolutely from the time of Noah, when even they made fun of him and the ship he was building or the boat. That is the same souls, which were arrogant during the Great Flood and who were not sure, or they rejected, or. So God exposes them here, confirms their disbelief. And then on the day of judgment, they will never be able to say that we were not given another chance, even though humans asked for the second chance. And look how blatantly they reject the message. So it's the same pattern, same thing you see time after time. It's the whole last 2 pages are explaining exactly what do we learn from the history, why there's so much history in the Quran, to remind us it's the same thing, it's the same message, same tests and everything, and what happened to people after rejection.
Yeah, mashallah, from Noah, if we read these verses, even from Noah 59, even the messengers' words are the same. Message, not only message, but also the words are the same. And the disbelievers' rejection is also, the words are the same. And every time in like Noah 59, he is saying, "Oh my people, worship God. You have no other God beside Him. I fear for you the retribution of an awesome day." And same in the Hud, he's saying, "Oh my people, worship." Verse 65. "Oh my people, worship God. You have no other God beside Him. Would you then observe righteousness?" And then Saleh in verse 73, again he is saying, "O my people, worship God. You have no other God beside Him." And then this is the same. It's coming all the time. You can recognize the messenger language, and every time you can recognize the arrogant response, because in Noah verse 60, the leaders, always the leaders who are more, have powers with through money or through some other things, so they are the one who will stand against these messages, and they represent the Satan. So that the leaders among his people said, "We see that you are far astray." And again in the Hud, the leaders who disbelieved among his people said, "We see that you are behaving foolishly." And then the Saleh, again, it's the every time the leaders, they are taking the stand and they are trying to fool the rest of the people. But of course, every human being has the free will to choose. So it's their choice that if they will choose the arrogant, the leader's advice, or the sent by God, his messengers. So this is every time, of course, no one can blame to anyone other that because of this I was disbeliever, and because he or she forced me to become disbeliever. Of course not.
Yeah, mashallah, yes, it's so true. Even the Shah Khalifa says that Satan, he tries to capture the top people. They graduated from these high ranking schools because these gonna be the leaders in the religion. And see, if he can capture them, he doesn't have to worry about the small people. These people will go out and deliver his message, Satan's message, and divert people from the right path. So the same thing happens in these verses that we're reading. All these powerful, rich people making the religion crooked and diverting people from the right path. So these were also influenced by Satan. So he doesn't have to work on every single soul. He just capture the top leaders, and they work for him. And mashallah, praise God. I really want to emphasize on that. Okay, that like when you start your career, you don't start on somewhere in the middle or top, and you retire at the lowest level in your company. You grow better. It's not like you are like start as a physician in a hospital and then you retire as a janitor. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. You become a surgeon, or maybe become even a higher CEO or something. But in religion, I mean, this is pretty sad. When we come to submission, uh, it is for all of us that we should, and I pray to God that he make us, that we take it so seriously that we improve ourselves instead of going down. We need to evaluate ourselves on routine basis. How am I declining in submission? Am I improving? If I'm declining, then that's a loss. If I'm steady in one level, that's at least okay for now, but I need to grow. I need to be better than yesterday. I mean, otherwise, if I'm not growing in submission, if I'm becoming worse than when I was, then that's a really, really bad thing, because our goal should be in life, the vision of our life should be that we're closer and closer to God, mashallah.
I just want to add in this one that the growth of the soul is the first step is just having the knowledge, getting the knowledge, and after that, uh, we should just keep studying. And why we should keep studying? So then we can really, this is why we read again and again. So it remains in our thoughts, in our brain, heart, that this is what God's commandments are. So, because we forget very easily, so this way we will not forget God's commandments, and it will remain like very fresh and clear in our mind. So, the purpose, how soul will grow, soul will not grow just by reading and not uh, um, applying every day on our life. So we have to live a Quranic life. this should be our goal. That of course, in the beginning, it's hard, and it is not like all of a sudden we will be like change and our old habits and things will be just disappeared. So for that we have to work hard for that. But our goal should be that before I depart from this world, my life become I become like like a walking, talking Quran, because my actions, my behavior, my lifestyle, everything should be according to God's teachings, which I am learning day and night, in the morning, at night time. So, and through different Quran studies, doing that and discussing them. So discussion is just to absorb those teachings in our soul. So we will not be able to forget them, and we will be able to apply them when the any time, when every time when situations comes or even don't come, and we are just sitting and we are lying down. So God is in our mind all the time. So this is how we will be able to grow our soul. And otherwise, just by reading and not applying, it will not benefit us at all. Just wanted to share this thing. And I mean, by God's grace, the believers, the true believers at Summiters, they understand these things. So we all are trying by God's grace, but still we have to work very, very hard to become like that. Praise God, inshallah.
Yeah, mashallah. Actually, God makes it easy for you. You know, God just sees our effort, and after a while, you actually enjoy doing, you know, following God's commandment and things like that. And He puts a lot of strength in our heart. He takes a lot of fear out of you. I mean, to be honest with you, I could never imagine like talking like this. I had so much as a growing up. I had phobia, fear, a lot of anxiety issues, and I could never imagine doing all this. And the first time when I became a submitter, somebody asked me to do a sermon on Friday, and I could not even imagine doing it. I mean, I told this person, never in a million years. But after the submission, slowly I noticed the phobia, the psychological issue, the anxiety attacks and all this stuff is completely, I mean, I sometimes it makes me feel like crying, that what happened to all that stuff. I mean, I used to have phobia, and especially the fear of just unknown in myself. And I have no fear right now. I mean, I have no phobia or nothing like that. These things, when happens to you, it really makes you realize there is God. There is definitely a God. And all these things are just kind of compile on top of each other to the point you become like absolute certain that there is God. I mean, you have no doubt whatsoever that that if there's no God or something, mashallah.
Okay, so I guess if there are no other comments or questions, God willing, we can conclude the study. And thank you all for joining us. God willing, our next study is going to be on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time, and God willing, I will be the teacher. Assalamu alaikum,
Assalamu
everyone.
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.